Hi guys. My name is Sanjay Gupta. I'm a cardiologist in New York, and today I wanted to do a quick video on the subject of stress and ectopic heartbeats. The first thing to say is, since I put these videos out, I had the fortune of speaking to a lot of people, and a lot of people, far more than I'd realized, suffer from ectopic heartbeats, and they can be incredibly distressing for a lot of patients. Now, I must have spoken to several hundred people about this, okay? And one of the big problems is that there's not much literature out there, and not many people are doing any research in this subject. And therefore, people have these ectopics, they go to the doctor says, oh, it's nothing dangerous, don't worry about it, you're anxious, forget about it. And the poor patient continues to suffer, and he doesn't really get any respite from these very troublesome symptoms. Now, during the course, so what I've tried to do is I've tried to learn from all the people I've spoken to try and work out if there's anything that is common in people, which could explain why some people get ectopics. So I've spoken to old patients who are old, I've spoken to patients who are young, I've spoken to people who have heart disease, I've spoken to people who don't have heart disease, I've spoken to women, I've spoken to men, I've spoken to a whole variety of people. And I've always, at the back of my mind, when I'm speaking to them, tried to say, well, what is it that links all these people together? And if there's one thing that I've come out with, which makes me think that it seems to link most of these patients together, the common underlying sort of denominator has been that they all have a degree of health-related anxiety. They're anxious about their health, and they have this degree of anxiety. So because of that, that got me more interested, and I started thinking to myself, well, okay, of course, we know that, if you're anxious, if you're stressed, your flight or fright response is activated, and you will notice things more that you wouldn't ordinarily notice. So if you had ectopic heartbeats, extra beats within your heart, which most of us do, we don't notice them. But if we have a very heightened awareness because we're anxious or stressed, then we'll notice them a lot more. But what was also very interesting speaking to a lot of these people is that they actually notice a lot more. They say that, look, I actually, sure, I notice them, but they get more frequent. And so I was very keen to try and work out in my own mind, can stress actually not only make you more aware, but can it actually increase the number of ectopics you're getting? And I did a lot of reading, and I found this very interesting paper that I wanted to share with you, because this is very interesting, okay? This was done by Professor Bernard Lown, okay? He was based in Boston, Massachusetts. And this paper was published in 1978. And what he did was the paper is entitled Roles of Psychological Stress in Provocation of Ventricular Premature Complexes, or PVCs. So what he did was he took 19 patients, all right? And all these patients, some of them had heart disease, heart artery narrowing, some of them had normal hearts. And the 19 patients all had some ectopics, okay? So he did a 24-hour ECG. He calculated how many ectopics these people were getting. Of these 19 patients, there were 17 men, 2 women, and their ages range from 18 to 67. So it encompassed a huge age range, and it covered men and women. And what he did was he did an experiment, and he put them through 20 minutes of stress. How did he give them the stress? Well, he did 3 things. Number 1, for 5 minutes, he asked them to do some mental arithmetic. So he asked them to do some maths mentally and answer questions. And if they were getting them wrong, then they would be told off to increase the stress levels. And that continued for 5 minutes. And then after 5 minutes, he did another little test with these patients, where he gave them cards which had names of colors written on them. So a card would have red written on it, but the red would be written in blue ink. And patients were asked to name the color of the ink. And that made it quite difficult because, automatically, as soon as you see red, you want to say red. But if the red bit is written in blue, then you have to think a little bit more, and that causes stress. So he did that. And then for the next 10 minutes, he did an interview, which was related to emotionally meaningful aspects of the patient's life, asking them about illness, asking them about job-related stress, asking them about marriage, and asking them about death, okay? And during this 20-minute experiment of giving patients stress, he recorded their heart rhythm, okay? And what he found was very interesting. What he found was that let me just tell you exactly how many, but in 11 out of the 19 patients, he found that there was a significant increase in the number of ectopic heartbeats they were getting. So the frequency increased, and in 7 of these patients, 7 out of the 11 in whom the frequency increased by twofold, okay? Now, you may ask, what about the remaining 8? Well, in the other 8, there was a slight decrease, but only by about 1 ectopic per minute, okay? Whereas for the others, for the 11 patients in whom the ectopics increased, there was an increase of up to 4 ectopics per minute. So a significant increase in ectopics. And what this showed was that actually putting someone through mental stress, okay, increases the number of ectopics. So not only are you more aware, but your ectopics increase. And that is, again, undoubtedly because of the adrenaline that's going around the body, the stress hormones, cortisol that's increased. And that is why a lot of people who have anxiety or health-related anxiety, what unfortunately happens with them is when they're anxious, they get more ectopics, okay? And their threshold for noticing them goes down. So they start noticing the ectopics. And as they start noticing the ectopics, they look out for more, and they get into this horrible vicious cycle where you're getting ectopics because you're stressed, and then you get more stressed because the ectopics are there. That increases the number of ectopics you're getting. And this becomes a vicious cycle, and it starts overwhelming people, and it starts taking over their lives. So the first thing about this is to be aware that that doesn't mean, that there's a real component of the brain in this, okay? It doesn't necessarily mean that your heart is getting worse. It is more about the fact that, you've got this anxiety and stress going on. And so I think one of the things I would recommend always is to be conscious of that. And when that happens, the best thing you can do is to try and slow your breathing down, okay? And if you can, anything you can do to address your stress, address your anxiety, will help reduce the frequency of your ectopics. So whilst a lot of people try and say, well, look, I need to get rid of these ectopics, treat the ectopics, I think it's actually a really good idea to try and treat the stress or the anxiety if you can. Deep breathing is really good, slowing your breathing down. Cognitive behavioral therapy is really good. Okay. If you want to see this paper, please don't hesitate, drop me a line and I can send the paper to you. But I hope this was useful and gives you some insight into why why stress can cause more ectopics. All right. So now, I'm really sorry I haven't put many videos out recently. I am so grateful for all the kind words, the great feedback. It means so much. I really appreciate it. I do look out on various forums and things, and some people say the loveliest things. So it makes my day. It makes it all worthwhile. Now, My website is www.yourcardiology.co.uk. My Facebook page is now, if you type in yourcardiology@gmail.com, you'll come across my Facebook page. And if you need to get in touch with me, if you want to ask me any questions, please don't hesitate. I know I've been a bit lax, but I'm going to try harder. So have a great night, and thank you so much. Bye.